Hey friends, this is Jen. We are on for Mellow Out Sunday. Hope everyone is enjoying a wonderful holiday weekend. I thought we'd do a lot more chest and shoulders today and maybe some twists. I feel like the holiday season, there's a lot of, I don't know, energy stored just in this area in general. So to free that up, twist it out, wring it out, and free up our shoulders and chest is a wonderful way to continue on as we move on to this next holiday in just a month. I have my helper, Barry, again today. If you have some sort of prop, I just don't have a yoga block with me, so Barry's my assistant. But if you have something that you're able to use to prop your chest up as we take it down to the floor, go ahead and grab that right now. We will start with a chest opener and start getting into hips a little bit here as we warm up. So starting on the ground, we're going to take our prop. Barry's a little squishy, so he seems big, but once I put weight on him, he will kind of squish down. We want to place our prop just about halfway down our back and lie down. So nice standard chest opener. And finding that initial position is kind of the toughest part. So take some time just to find a good place. I feel like even when I'm using a block, I sort of move that block, the base of it, a little bit lower than my mid back. And then when I lie on top of it, it seems to work out well. So find a good place that works better for you. And then once you're there, you want to find a good place where your chest is lifted up off the floor. It's your highest, most point, and just allow your arms to rest on either side. And gosh, once you find a good position for yourself, this place is like so perfect. Stay here all day. So take some time here, close down your eyes, and give yourself a couple of deep breaths in through your nose. Exhale out through your nose. And one more time, full deep in through your nose. Exhale out through your nose. If you like this place, absolutely stay here. If you'd like to add a hip opener, feel free to bring the soles of your feet together and allow your knees to fall out to the right, to the left. And you can play around with your arms. So I like to bring my arms up overhead, and this gives me the chance to really open up my chest, my shoulders. You can also play around with goal posting your arms, allowing your elbows to just drop out to the sides. Feel that good pull open of your chest here. And then between the two of these, right, whether you want straight arms or bent arms, you can experiment with doing some snow angel-like movements, allowing your arms to come down toward your hips and then move back up toward your head. Take your time. It doesn't need to be fast movement. You might choose to actually find one place and stay, right? So whatever serves you best allows you to feel a good open place in your chest. And that might mean elbows bent closer toward your hips. That might mean arms straighter, closer to your head. It'll be different for everybody, and it'll be different for you even on a day-to-day basis. So just experiment a little bit, and we'll be here for the next few breaths. In through your nose. Exhale out. Full deep inhale in. On your exhale, start to relax a little bit deeper into your place, especially if you have your Baddha Konasana. Allow your knees to drop out heavier to the right, to the left. 2 more breaths then. Full deep inhale. Long, slow exhale. Final one here, full deep inhale. Long, slow exhale. Good. If you had your legs out in Baddha Konasana, start to straighten out your legs long. And then from here, open your eyes, start to place your elbows on the floor and use your elbows, your hands, your forearms to push yourself up, lift yourself up, and then turn yourself around. Good. Very reverted to his shape, even though I squished him down quite a bit. We'll move into a chest opener next. So still reinforcing our open chest here. Your hips stay right above your knees. Start to walk your hands forward in front of you. And if this is too much to start, by the way, you can totally bring your elbows, forearms down to the floor and work from here. You might just send your elbows out a little bit farther, and you can even just take your hands and place them behind your head toward your neck, and then allow your chest to melt from here, and you'll feel a good chest opener and a tricep stretch. If you prefer the traditional puppy stretch, extend your arms out long and melt your chest into the floor from here. Now your forehead can touch the floor. If you're feeling up for it though, you can bring your chin to the floor and allow your armpits to melt into the floor. Take one more breath here in through your nose. Exhale, let your chest go heavier. Melt into the floor. Good. Your next inhale, gently push yourself up off of the floor. Ooh, big chest opener. And I'd like to offer you a couple more variations of that same chest opener. The first one being just slightly more elevated. So this was on the floor earlier. I have my mattress here. So if you have like a chair or something, maybe about belly or chest height, you can place your hands on that place and then allow your chest to melt. And you might need to experiment with the distance. So I'm scooting my knees back a bit farther as I allow my chest to melt down into this space. And because it is space as opposed to the floor, you want to just be a little bit careful with it. Of course, this gives you a lot more room to move, range of motion. But we want to be gentle and still give us a little bit of energy and space to lift out of it whenever we need to, all right? So in this variation, again, you can experiment with bringing your hands a bit closer with each other and see how that feels on your chest, on your shoulders. And you can also experiment with opening up your hands a little bit wider. And as you, again, enter and exit this big stretch, I want you to be a little bit careful because it's easy to kind of flick yourself out of it, which is not the best situation, especially if you're kind of easing your way in. You want to ease your way out so you don't cause any weird tweaks as you exit out of the posture. Good, and remember, take your time. It's almost like you have to stiffen up your body. This is like soft here, but you stiffen up your body a little bit to exit out of the posture. If that felt good, but you feel like it was too much of this empty space that you were letting yourself free fall into, A great place to work the very same chest opener is up against the wall. So I just want to offer you it as another way to work it. So start with your feet maybe about 2 feet or 3 feet away from the wall. Maybe a little bit closer to start just as your diagnostic. You can always walk yourself back a little bit farther. So I'm going to start with my hands just about shoulder width apart. And as I allow myself to lean into the wall, let your chest melt into the wall. If you feel like there's not enough space, you can start to walk your feet farther back. But it looks like I found a pretty good space for me. Send your hips back, allow your chest to melt. And you can keep your chin on the floor if you feel, not on the floor, on the wall. Or you can even think about getting your throat closer to the wall. Open up your chest. And these are quite aggressive, so I want you to take some time, spend some time here. And same thing to exit. You can send your hips farther back. And it's somewhat of an easier exit than the one that was hanging down into the abyss, in that you can send your hips and your weight back into your legs and you can easily come out of it. Each time you make a change though, give yourself a couple of breaths so that your body has the time to respond to it. And we'll just do one more thing up against the wall. Just like we experimented with the distance between our arms, close versus farther away, we can experiment with the angle here on a single arm basis. So if your left arm is on the wall, I'm gonna put my left foot in front of me and I'm gonna go for like a 45-degree angle upwards and see if you can just push. You don't even have to push actually. If you can just rotate your chest rather than facing forward, you just rotate your chest to face out to the right and feel that really nice stretch going down your chest. And listen, I'm doing this with straight arms. You can also do this with a bent arm position and you'll find that you need to move quite a bit closer. So I'm pretty much plastered toward the wall. Here, I'll do it here. And you want to open up your chest in this fashion. I happen to be at an angle, but you get the idea here. You can play around with both the corner situation or exactly up against a flat wall. Open up through your chest. And as we experimented last time, the bent arm situation might feel a little bit more aggressive than the straight arm. So totally remember that and take your time with it. It doesn't need to be super open with your chest. Just take some time. And of course, what you do with one side, you want to do with the other. So I'm going to do that 45-degree angle again. And then rotate my chest open to the left-hand side. Good. And then unrotate, so return back to your original position, and then take that bent arm position. So this one I'm kind of plastered against the wall, and rotate from here. And this is kind of a better visual. I'm sorry, my back is facing you, but I'm using my arm against the wall, so no longer a corner situation. And the amount that I can rotate is quite a bit less than that first side. And because we're doing these that are kind of require a bit more time, and I'm offering you quite a few variations, I'm going to exit out. Feel free to pause and kind of move along this video any which way. So these different examples are not indicative of how long you should spend there. Maybe some days you want to spend a little bit longer, and you should totally just put it on pause and work through those variations as you see fit. All right, now our chest is pretty open. We'll take a couple of arm circles. So I like to just stabilize my right shoulder just by putting my left hand kind of right here, close to the front of my armpit. And we'll take this right arm for your biggest rotation back behind. And then once you swim it back, let's swim it forward and going for your biggest rotation again. That's it. And we'll do it again. Go, rotate it all the way back. And this is our straight arm here. Find your biggest rotation and bring it back. Good. Now we'll move into a 90-degree position, then open, and then see if you can rotate. This is now twisting from your torso, from your waist. Draw your right arm, elbow back, forearm back, and then close it up. And then we'll do that one more time, keeping the height of your elbow. Open up through your chest and see if you can twist even more to get that same type of rotation as we did with the straight arm. And gently return back. Beautiful. Let's switch the other side. So left arm, as long as possible, you rotate open through your chest. Good. And bring it all the way back, especially if you've been feeling any weird tweaky things. I'm of course projecting. I feel weird tweaky things on my left arm. You want to take your time. I feel it just about here as I bring my arm back. Good. And I had James look at it. He was like, your posterior deltoid is just very much requires a little bit of physical therapy. I was like, no, fix it. But it just takes some time, doesn't it? So find your 90 degrees and then take it out to the left and then continue pushing your left forearm back and allow that to drive your chest open toward your left-hand side and find that twist through your torso. And come back through center. Good. Keep that height here. And we'll take it back. And bring it forward. And moving at such a controlled, slow pace, I do think of it as really beautiful therapy too. Kind of giving your body that range of motion in a slow, controlled fashion. Let's do both then. So you have your 90 degrees. We take it out to the sides and think about squeezing your blades, drawing your arms back as much as possible. Good. Let me show you from the side. And then hang out right here. Think about drawing these arms back as if somebody's behind you and pulling your forearms back behind. And this should be a very similar sensation as when you did single arms up against the wall, or if you do it against the floor as well. It's not a huge amount that you can push back, right? This is kind of my neutral, and when I bring it back, it's just a little bit. Good. And then from here, keeping the squeeze of your blades, your forearms far back, see if you can flatten out your palms to face the floor. Still, I'm squeezing my blades. Good. And then draw again yourself back into that goalpost position. Still the squeeze of your blades. And that's difficult to do to maintain. All right, let's flatten out these palms. Good. Keep the squeeze of your blades, that big rotation. And return. And if you feel no tweakiness, that is great, right? My right side, honestly, does not feel terrible. It feels fine, actually. It's my left-hand side. So start to flatten out your palms again. Keep the squeeze of your blades. Huge rotation. And lift. Good. Keep the height of your elbows. One more time. Squeeze your blades. Flatten out your palms. Good. From here, we still have that squeeze of our blades. We're going to continue. Squeeze your blades, squeeze your blades. Push back, and it feels like you are creating your own resistance here. Like you're in water, you cannot push that far. That's exactly that sensation. This is my maximum here. Check in with the height of your elbows. Mine have drooped a little bit. I'm gonna kind of ease off a little bit and lift up my elbows and then return to that flat position. Squeeze your blades once again. My arms are literally shaking right now. Gently push back. Keep the height of your elbows. Good. And gently return to flat palms. And again, I don't feel much in my right arm at all. It's just my left shoulder. So start to push back again. Keep the height of your elbows. It's all a little shaky. And come back through center. One more time. Squeeze your blades. Check no break at your wrists. Press your palms back. And gently lift yourself up. Good. Woo. Return back to goalpost. Extend your arms straight and then push it out right, left, return. Ooh, big shoulder shrugs here real quick. And then I'm gonna return them the other direction. Good. Woo. And then I do want to take advantage of the fact that we're a little bit more warmed up in our chest to do one other thing, right? And we've done this before, but I feel like now we're super, super open. So I want us to try one more time before we go in the other direction. So take your fingers interlaced back behind you and flip it around so your palms are facing the floor. And then go to wherever your body kind of generally allows you to go, where you feel relatively comfortable. Good. From this place, bend your both legs. And if you have a little bit more in you, meaning you can send your hands back a little bit farther, you can do that now, and then pick up your chest. See how this feels, right? Just your initial assessment. For me, again, my right does not feel a whole bunch. My left feels a whole bunch. Pick up your chest. If you have it in you, right? And the answer does not have to be yes. You want to assess what your body is feeling and then move from there. You can start to, if you want to, move your knees out to the right, to the left. Now, these are functional windshield wipes. So as you move your knees out to the right, for instance, I'm scooting my butt forward. And then I'm gonna drop my knees to the left, scoot my butt forward. So my arms remain in the same place, but I'm moving my hips farther and farther away from me. And as such, this angle that I'm creating becomes more and more, let's say right angle, obtuse angle, larger, yeah? And then whenever you've hit your terminal point, lift up tall through your chest again, best you can, and hang out right there. You can then lengthen out through your legs. You can keep them bent, whatever gives you a more, and I do mean this, a more comfortable situation for your arms, your chest, to kind of feel this stretch. One more breath. In through your nose, lift up tall through your chest. Exhale, stay. Beautiful. Good. To come out of this, gently shift your body weight forward, hinge a little bit forward, undo these arms. Ooh. And allow your shoulders to kind of move around a little bit. Allow your arms to kind of shake out a little bit. And actually that reminds me, when you hear of tennis elbow, people playing tennis a whole bunch, there's like this slight bend in your arms. Or if you lift weight a whole bunch, you always maintain your range of motion kind of stuck, or stopped, I should say, at this point where your arm is just slightly bent, right? Because you never want to lock out. But at the same time, I really like the idea of preserving range of motion in general, right? So while this is like a safer place to end your range of motion in your bicep curl, let's say, I want the ability to lengthen and straighten out my arm when I want to. So we'll do one thing for that, which we haven't done. And this one is basically locust pose. in yoga, if you've ever heard of that. So once you're down onto your belly, let's straighten out these arms. And this is a perfect posture to kind of work at any point in time. It can be passive or it can be active. So it's totally up to you depending on how you feel. Now for a passive version, meaning I'm not interested in doing anything but setting myself up in the posture, you will lie down just like me, palms face the floor. And as you roll over to one side, so I'm rolling over to my left side, I'm gonna slide this right arm underneath my body with my palm facing the floor, with my 5 fingers spread out wide. And the idea is when I bring my arm underneath, not to bend it, to keep it as straight as possible. So I always think about almost getting this sounds very weird, but rotating my arm so much that my whole tricep flattens down onto the floor, right? I want to think of that, right? And then once I flatten out, I'm going to roll over to my right hand side and do the same thing. I'm going to rotate so much that the idea is my tricep meets the floor and my arms are as close as possible. Now listen, from here, I'm just going to lift my hips up just to show you real quick. My 10 fingers are flat against the floor, and I want as much of my both arms, again, they're not touching, but to be as close as possible. So you can make your adjustment like that. I'm sticking my hips up so you can see. And your 10 fingers to be flat, your pinky fingers to touch. And then once you have that position, let your body weight just press heavy over your arms. And if you are somebody who does have that, tennis elbow, that situation where you mildly bend your arms at the end of a rep of any sort, this might feel already quite terrible. So this is the passive version. And, generally when you hear the word passive, it seems like, I don't know, there's some sort of negative connotation with that. I think it's great. Like this passive stretch already, you are setting yourself up in the position and you're putting your own body weight over it. I think it's already fantastic. So stay right there, especially if you are working with that situation where your arms are a little bit bent and that's your maximum. Putting yourself in that position will already feel kind of terrible. So stay right there. Give yourself as long as your body allows you, right? This is all your body weight over your arms, so it's quite a bit. Now, if you're on the other side of the situation where you're like, oh, this is quite comfortable, what we can do is make this slightly more active. All right, so again, once you're there, again, I like to think of my entire arm just completely underneath my body, right? You can't even see it any longer. From here, you can make it a little bit more active if you so choose, and which is by lifting one leg up. You should find a bit of spine strengthening there and lower down, and then lift your other leg up, your left leg up, find a bit more spine strengthening there, and lower back down. So you're still having that weight over. And the challenge for us then, if we're lifting our legs, is that you want to achieve a little bit of height without letting your body roll over to one side. So you want to keep your right leg lifted high while your right hip point is sitting on top of your right forearm, and then lower down, and then switch your left. Think about energy extending out of your toes, still with your left hip facing down toward the floor. Good. And then when you're ready to be done with this, of course, free out your arms. So you can just roll from one side, release, to the other, release, and then just shake it loose here. All right, excellent. Flick out your fingers, do what you need to do, and push yourself up off of the floor. We've done quite a bit of chest opening. I'd like us to now sort of find a bit of rounding a little bit here. So when we think about forward fold, I always think of like lengthening out my spine, just because, yes, hamstrings are cool and stuff too, but I want to find length, and I always want to So remind my body that this is important to me, right? So there's never this default of like, oh yeah, I only want to go for hamstrings and I'm just going to let my spine do whatever. I really like the idea of keeping my spine long. In this next one though, I'm going to throw that to the wind and do something totally different. You can grab a prop like a belt or something else if you like, or you can simply bend your legs up and grab the sides of your feet. Okay, simply by grabbing your feet, it is likely the case that you look kind of like me, right? Our spines are a little bit rounded and that's just fine. From here, keeping this good grip of your feet as you either walk your hips back, right? So you can do that little scoochy back situation, or you start to walk your heels forward. I want you to think of separating your blades here. Relax your shoulders, and this is as much pressure as you put into it. And again, I'm not saying that to say that more pressure is better, but you can really adjust it so it doesn't ever become too aggressive. But think about separating your blades. So really focused more on that up back. Relax your shoulders away from your ears and use that resistance of our grabbing of our feet to pull away and create that hollow between your chest and your feet. And we'll spend one more breath here. Inhale. I know this is really counter to what I really emphasize all the time, right? Exhale, round. All right, so if you still have that grip of your feet, whether your legs are straight or not, we'll take it the other direction. So right now we've done a huge hollow. See if you can then do maybe not a huge arch, but a arch. Open your chest, draw your shoulders back, and exhale, go around. So like a cat-cow. You don't have to have legs bent. It could look like this. Inhale, open your chest. Exhale, go around. Nice. Inhale, go open your chest. And especially if your legs are bent right now and you had them straight, exhale, go round. You feel how much you can push your feet into your fingers and separate your blades even more, right? It feels like you have so much more range of motion now. Inhale, go open your chest. And exhale, go round. Good, and we'll hang out here just for one more breath. In through your nose. Exhale out. Nice. Gently release that resistance, let go of your feet. And again, we'll find ourselves in Baddha Konasana. So some of you may have found this earlier when we were doing our chest opening. Take a lift of your chest. We'll go long for our spine first and gently hinge. Use your elbows to help push into your calves, into your inner thighs, whatever is more suitable for you. And we'll start with that length. Stay for your exhale. Good, one more. Full deep go, inhale, lengthen. Exhale. Good. And then we'll take our prop or whatever it is. Allow your head just to hang heavy over your prop. And allow your spine to do whatever it will as you just hang out here. The idea of this is to allow our knees to push out to the right, to the left, not worrying about our spine any longer. Just find that good hip opening. And we'll be here for 4 breaths. Make any adjustments that you need to make at any point in time, whether it's a shuffling of your elbows more forward or in a readjustment of your prop lower. We'll make one more breath here in through your nose. Exhale out. Good, gently lift yourself up. All right, we'll do some single leg focus here. Extend your left leg forward. And then we'll do our typical Janushasana. Bring the sole of your foot up against your left thigh. Flex your left foot back toward your face. And find your gentle hinge, first with your long spine. Take one breath, inhale, lengthen out through your crown. Exhale, fold. And hopefully what you achieve here, what you start to feel a little bit of, is not only your left hamstring, but your long spine. And then maybe a little bit, if your right side hip is a little bit tight, maybe you feel a little bit here as well. So far, for me, it's mainly this length in my spine that I feel. It feels so good, actually. We spend so much of our time either sitting or standing, which is great, of course, obviously. But this just gives me some more length, so much more length, and it feels like I'm hanging upside down, which is so decompressing, right? If you've ever sat in one of those inversion chairs, oh, that feeling is amazing, isn't it? All right, gently, let's lift ourselves up. And for, if you were like me, you didn't feel much in this right-hand side, hopefully this next option, you'll start to feel a little bit more, which is just taking this right foot and placing on top of your left thigh. Now, we're going for this figure 4 shape, so your right shin is kind of more parallel to the front of your space. Same deal, lift yourself up and gently hinge forward. My hands are exactly where they were when I just placed my foot there, but you can bring your hands back behind to give you some leverage to hinge forward. Still flex your foot back, still find that length through your left side hamstring. And find some length in your spine. And for me at least, I feel a little bit more hip opening here. And we'll take one more breath in this position, lengthen. And exhale, fold. And it's crazy to think because this is a forward fold and you're like, okay, that's hamstrings then for sure. But there are so many different elements going on. It's like, what's more important? Is it the hamstring? Is it the hip? Is it the spine? Gosh, I feel like they're all equal tiered and we just have to little bit work at it, chip away at it. All right, from here, let's come up like a little bit halfway. We'll keep our left hand back behind and just use our right hand to gently, very gently encourage this right side to open up, right? So I'm not pushing against my knee. I want to push against sort of that fleshy part, and it's mild. It's a mild push. We'll take one more breath. Lengthen. And exhale. Push, push, push. Good. All right, gently lift yourself up. And we'll take this hip opening, right? We went from like maybe not feeling a whole bunch to maybe feeling a little bit more to maybe a little bit more and to maybe even more. So as we lean back just a hair, let's bend up this left leg, sole of your foot flat against the floor. And we find ourselves in a figure 4 here as well. Now, same rules apply, though we've taken the hamstring element out of it. Bring your hands fairly close to the base of your spine, just so that if your arms are back here, it's super tempting to lean into and our spine is so rounded. If you bring your hands a little bit closer and prop yourself up, it is likely the case that you'll sit up a bit taller. And you still have your right leg kind of parallel to your space here. Lift up tall through your chest and gently you're encouraging this right leg to open. All right, so gonna hesitate to say push your right knee away from you, but you are trying to get a little bit these both knees in one line. So as much as you can, farther away from your right armpit, I should say, right? But not too aggressive in that push. Think about opening up through your hip. One more breath. Lift up through your chest. Good, and then stay. Very nice. All right. From here, let's lean back, straighten out this left leg, go back into that second option, right? Or second variation, I should say, and see if this gives you even more access than before, right? We went from sort of super mild to medium to spicy, and then now we're going back into the medium. So hopefully it feels more accessible now that we're easing our way out of it. And then gently lift yourself up. And then as we take our mildest option, right, sole of your foot up against your left thigh and hinge, see if you can maybe go a little bit deeper. And you may not, and that's fine too, right? Spend some time, whatever it is, working on some length in your spine, working on some length in your hamstring, and just know that doing these one leg at a time gives us a little bit more access than if we just do both each time, right? Like with the forward fold and such. So with your spine, with your hamstring, doing these single leg options, hopefully will give us a little bit more opportunity to work on one side than the other before we do both, which feels all of a sudden a step up. All right, gently lift ourselves up and we'll move into our other side. So straighten out this right leg, bend up this left one, and the left sole of your foot up against your right thigh. Lift up tall through your chest and gently hinge here. This is our mild version. Your hands can be wherever you want them to be. If you find that your spine is super, super rounded, or you're really working on lengthening out through your spine while working with a tighter hamstring, your hands, again, close with the base of your spine, ought to help you lift, and you can hinge from there. Use your hands to actively push. Draw your shoulders back. Flex your foot so your energy is extending out through your heel, and you find some length in your spine and your hamstring. Take one more breath here. In through your nose, lengthen. Exhale, go a little bit deeper. Good, and let's gently lift ourselves up. We'll move into that next variation, which is simply putting this left foot over our right thigh. So this is that figure four stretch, and your left knee might be quite elevated like mine, and that's just fine, right? Especially if you didn't feel anything in your hip for that previous variation. Hopefully as you hinge forward, you do start to feel a little bit more, right? So find that hinge, still energy out of your right heel, still that length in your spine, and still that gentle encouragement of letting your left knee fall heavier toward the floor. And sometimes I like to scoot my heel forward a little bit, because once I forward fold, it feels like this is compressed down here and I need a little bit more length. So make those adjustments, scoot your hips back or whatever it is to find more length. And I personally, again, like this variation of gently pushing into my left inner thigh area. But this one, again, you want to be very careful, especially like I've mentioned this before, but one time I felt very, very warm and I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And I pushed way too hard, and that was not a good situation. I felt or I heard actually, my knee like sort of pop back like I was cracking a chicken bone or something. So that was not ideal. So even when you are feeling a little bit more sort of ready or warm, you want to be gentle with yourself as you transition a little bit deeper. And if this does feel good though, this gentle encouragement, this gentle push, you can even find a forward fold here, and that ought to deepen your stretch. These again are all options. You don't have to do all of them. You want to find a place that works better for you, and oftentimes that means not necessarily like the the topmost option, right? There's 5 options available and you're like, oh, I gotta do that 5th option. That might not be the case, right? It might be the 3rd option or the 2nd option that works a little bit better for you, even that 1st option, right? And then once that option starts to feel comfortable, then you start moving yourself up to the not up, I should say, forward to the next one, right? So really meeting your body where your body is so important. And that's something that I'm saying, but oftentimes I don't take my own advice, of course. So it's a good reminder to myself as well. All right, gently lift ourselves up, and then we'll take maybe that 3rd option, which is our spicy option. As you lean back, you'll just bend your right leg. So now we're taking the hamstring out of the equation. And then as you look at your left knee, you're just trying to encourage it away from you best you can. And this, again, might be a very, very slow process, right? It probably will be. These are our hips we're talking about, right? I'm kind of leaning back right now. So I need to bring my hands maybe a little bit closer. And then my chest is a little caved right now. I can afford to lift up a little bit taller. Continue to flex out through your left foot. And just by flexing your foot, if you went from kind of a neutral position to a flexed out foot position, you should feel probably a bit more work in your left side hip. All of a sudden, it is quite a bit more engaged rather than this lax position where your foot is sort of sickled and not doing anything. When you flex, all of a sudden, you're kind of in a better position. Your whole leg is all of a sudden fired up and ready to go. Lift up tall through your chest. Think about your chest leaping forward above your left shin. And we'll take one more breath here. Yes. And then gently lean back. Again, we're moving from this spicy option to our medium option once again. So as you straighten out this right leg and hinge forward, hopefully this is eased off on that hip opening. And maybe you feel like you can go a little bit deeper. Maybe not, right? Just make the observation and see what's going on. Maybe you do another one of these pushes, your left hand into your left inner thigh. Maybe you've had enough hips. You're like, I don't need that. All right, and let's move into our milder option. So place the sole of your foot up against your right thigh, lift, and find your gentle hinge with your arms back behind you, in front of you, whatever suits. Open your chest, lengthen out through your spine, and hinge from there. Good. Think about lengthening out through the crown, lengthening out through your tail. And also, best you can, squaring up over this right leg. I'll take one more breath here. Good. Gently lift yourself up. We're taking ourselves back in the Baddha Konasana. Now, usually we have the soles of our feet together, of course, and our heels are quite close to us. Let's scoot this out a little bit. So now, as we take a look at our legs, we're creating a shape that's more similar to what we had in our figure 4 individually. So slightly farther away, more creating like a square-like, diamond-like shape as we gently hinge forward. And then start with your long spine. So there's a lot of engagement. Lengthen out through your crown and gentle hinge. And for this, I don't feel it's quite as accessible to bring my elbows on top. Well, I guess it works. But play around with it. I feel like in this particular situation, I'm almost held up by my elbows. So it does work. And it does offer me a good hip opening. But I feel, for me at least, if I let my elbows come forward, it's an even better hip opening for me at least. So play around with that. Still find some length in your spine and still find that your chest is fairly open. When I think about length in my spine, oftentimes, visually, it does look like I have a long spine, but sort of my double check on that is to ask myself what my chest is doing. right? So even if my spine looks kind of long, but if my chest is caved, I'm not doing a very good visual example, but if I ask myself, okay, what is my chest doing? And my chest actually does feel quite compressed, then I know that the spine is probably not as long as it could be. Maybe it is kind of long, but if my chest is saying otherwise, like the flip side of the coin, then I'm like, okay, actually, you can afford to lengthen out a bit more. So that's always my double check. Open your chest, lengthen out through your spine. And it sounds like a weird adjustment, but I feel like I do say that often, like long chest, like what does that even mean? That's what I'm referring to, kind of the flip side of your long spine is your long chest, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. All right, let's take one more breath here. And this time on your exhale, just allow your spine to do whatever. So no more long chest. And your head can rest either on your feet, if that is something that works for you, or of course you can bring your friendly little helper to help give you a little bit of support. And see, with every exhale here, you can let your hips melt a little bit, soften up a little bit. You might find that you need less and less of your prop. And maybe for a little bit, you do let your head just dangle. We'll stay here for 2 more breaths in through your nose. Exhale out. Inhale in. Exhale out. Good. From here, gently lift yourself up. All right, we're gonna do one more sending of our heels forward. So going into an even wider angle. Not completely straight, but kind of almost there, still allowing your knees to fall out to the right, to the left. And see how this feels, right? These are, seemingly mild. I don't know if that's the right word, but this is really great prep work for a lot of more of the sort of advanced hip opening type of postures that you might see in some other classes. So this forward fold seems relatively benign, but it's such a great foundation and a great posture on its own, of course, but it's a great foundation also for other postures that you might be looking to do for larger hip openers and stuff like that. So think of allowing your head to kind of, or the space-wise, your head hits just about where your heels are if you were to let yourself go completely down toward the floor. All right, so allow yourself to hang there. This one, we are going to be more interested in just allowing our upper bodies to hang. So do not worry too much about your long spine. Just allow yourself to hang and feel good in this place. And this is already kind of a larger angle for our hips, so it might be somewhat unfamiliar for a lot of us. Take some time then to explore it, to let it feel slightly more familiar. So the next time we approach it, it's like a new friend that we're getting to know, right? Little bit at a time. And we'll be here just for a few more breaths. Make the observation, if you can, of any differences between your right and left side. And I've been very sort of like harsh about my left side, but they're just truthful observations. My left shoulder feels a little bit funny. My left hip also feels a little bit tighter. So Not making any judgments, but I'm just saying these are observations that I'm making of my body, and it becomes quite apparent as you go into these deeper hip openers or deeper postures in general. All right, 2 more breaths. And then gently lift yourself up. Very nice. And there's only a little bit of space here, but you take your hands to the outsides of your thighs and close your legs, your knees together. Let these legs straighten out and give yourself a little bit of a shake. So now we're back to a square position. Lift up tall. We'll go for a, kind of a traditional forward fold here. Hands back behind you or in front of you, your choice. Just lengthen here, open your chest. And spend some time just in your challenging place, a place where you can hold, maintain a long spine, some long legs, just for 4, just for 3, just for 2, for 1. Gently lift yourself up. And then I'm going to keep my legs long, but if you prefer to go back into a comfortable seat with your legs crossed, totally do that. But just take a moment. Your hands can be on your lap or wherever you see fit. Close down your eyes. We'll take a couple of breaths together here. Full deep inhale. Long, slow exhale. One more time here. Full deep inhale. Long, slow exhale. Good. Your next inhale, open your eyes. Nice work today. It's like we finished with these hips. And we forgot about how much we worked our chest. My chest actually feels pretty good, but way to go. Remember, you can always slow down the video or pause the video and spend more time in those postures. We move a little bit slower, obviously, than our other classes, but sometimes it can feel still quite a bit fast when it comes to those postures that require a bit more patience, love, and time, and all that wonderful stuff. But great to see you. Again, hope you have a really nice holiday. Of course, we're leading up to the next holiday. We'll be back live, of course, Monday, 11 a.m. for our Starburst, Cardio Starburst. All right, have a good night, everybody.